Anyway, all right, let's do this fucking Brandon conversation real quick.
Today, a phone call that could alter the course of a war. The planned phone call between President Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. This will be the first call between the two leaders since that tragic incident where 7 aid workers were killed in an Israeli strike in Gaza this week. Top White House officials are telling CNN that Biden is both angry and outraged about it. This morning, the founder of World Central Kitchen, who the aid workers work for, Chef Jose Andres, is accusing Israel of systematically, his word, targeting the aid convoy car by car. And he is.
This is the funniest part about this is that Jose Andres, massive liberal, right? Massive liberal, definitely like a liberal Zionist, conducted these operations with Israel, as I've talked about already. So like Israel killing his fucking aid workers obviously was going to frustrate him. And that is when the heel turn occurred, where he was like, that's fucking crazy. You guys are like systematic. You targeted our people, which they did, which Israel did. And also on top of that, you're like trying to murder all the Palestinians by fucking starving them, which they have been doing. Okay. Now, one thing I have to explain here is that every single person now is saying it's blood libel. Dude, what the fuck? It's not blood libel to say correct things. You are undermining blood libel as a real historical piece of misinformation that actually harmed Jews historically and caused pogroms. What the fuck? For those of you who don't know, Jews have always historically been declared the enemy, especially by Christians. For one, obviously, like, betraying Christ. That's number one. And then number two, for a number of different reasons, like Christians always would be like, all right, the Jews are eating the blood of the blood of Christian babies. That's what they're drinking. They're bad. They're fucking scheming all the time. All this shit, right? Like the OG bigotry is anti-Semitism. Okay? The OG bigotry. Blood libel is basically what I just described. The notion that like Jews are secretly devils that drink the blood of Christian children. Now, obviously, back in the fucking day, before TikTok, I guess, but we still had the same attitude that you have with like the average person who is on TikTok, where people would believe that shit. They'd be like, Christian peasants and shit would be like, oh yeah, the Jews, they are drinking the blood of Christian babies. And then they would fucking pogrom them. They would purge them, right? They would literally fucking kill them. And they would like, force them out of the villages and shit like that because they were dumb as fuck. So blood libel as a historic phenomena is a very serious one, okay? It's a very real one. It happened. It killed a lot of Jewish people. It harmed a lot of Jewish people, okay? This is how you incited pogroms. So for Ben to turn around and be like, this is blood libel, when talking about something that every single person has seen with their own two fucking eyes, it's like, bro, this doesn't work anymore. This doesn't work. When it comes to Israel, you can't fucking constantly be like, it's anti-Semitic, it's anti-Semitic, it's anti-Semitic. People don't think that way, okay? One, many people are already geared towards being bigoted anyway, including anti-Semitic. So all you're doing is basically fucking leaning into that so that people can be like, oh, well, I guess blood libel is, maybe blood libel was fucking real. You know what I mean? Like you're creating anti-Semitism by undermining like actual things and tagging them with anti-Semitism. It's so fucking frustrating. It makes me so mad. You can't constantly say this is anti-Semitic when it is objectively not an anti-Semitic thing, okay? All you're doing is basically making your audience go crazier and crazier and more justified in their mania, in their little fucking hug box, while simultaneously undermining real anti-Semitism that's happening by diluting the pool. You're giving him credit for a statement that still doesn't make sense? It's so weird, dude. That's obviously exactly what he wants to know. No, dude, Ben Shapiro is a fucking freak. But he's not like, Ben Shapiro's a freak, but he's also Jewish. very Jewish. This is a prominent part of his like identity. Okay. So no, I don't think he wants anti-Semitism to increase. I think that he literally is, he's like lost his mind. He's lost his mind even further. He's a giant piece of shit. That is for sure. Okay. But the one thing he's not is someone who can, someone who will get away with a shit ton of anti-Semitism. I think he legitimately believes in his mind that this is like anti-Semitic. I don't think he's like cynically deploying this. Not that it fucking matters. It's not going to happen. There is no way that you can defend this shit. You can't. So a lot of these people are showing their fucking asses if they don't retriangulate. I would have suspected that many people, especially in media, would be smart enough to retriangulate and try to hit like liberal Zionist talking points or some shit like that. Turns out, nope. They're just too bloodthirsty and too hopped up on Islamophobia to recognize that like other people are looking at them and going, no, you guys are fucking gross, actually. That's what's going on here. Let's listen to what World Kitchen founder Jose Andres said about aid workers being deliberately targeted in the Israeli strike while I take Kaya out. Okay.
17 members between the specialty security people we have, 3 British individuals and 3 international crew plus 1 Palestinian, that they were targeted systematically, car by car. And this happened over more than 1.5, 1.8 kilometers. So this was not just a bad luck situation where, oops, we dropped the bomb in the wrong place, or no, this was over 1.5, 1.8 kilometers with a very defined humanitarian convoy that had signs in the top, in the roof, a very colorful logo that we are obviously very proud of, but that's very clear who we are and what we do. But what I know is that we were targeted deliberately, non-stop, until everybody was dead in this convoy. That cannot be the role of an army. That cannot be the role of an army that has hundreds of drones above Gaza in any single moment. Humanitarians and civilians should never be paying the consequences of war. This is a basic principle of humanity. At the time, this looks like it's not a war against terrorism anymore. Seems this is a war against humanity itself. You cannot be destroying every building. You cannot be destroying every hospital, every school. You cannot be targeting humanitarian. You cannot be targeting children.
Can you imagine being fucking mad at this shit? Can you imagine being mad at this statement? This is an ally of Israel, by the way. Okay? This is an ally. They systematically killed almost 200 aid workers before this. Okay? They just killed a shit ton of white aid workers from an organization that was directly working with Israel, that was brought in for PR, for Israel to say, see, we're letting in humanitarian aid. That's the fucking major problem here. That is the political problem here. On foreign policy, recognizing that Israel's actions actually compromise America's interests in the region. Do you understand? They don't care about Palestinian humans. They don't care about like the lives and safety and security of Palestinian children. They care about America's interests in the region. The people that quit the State Department and the people that were trying to urge Biden to change course on Israel since October 8 were the people who understand that this looks really bad for American foreign policy. Israel is our attack dog. And the attack dog has gotten out of control, completely out of control.
He is calling for an independent investigation into it.
This was not just a bad luck situation where, oops, we dropped the bomb in the wrong place, or no. What I know is that we were targeted deliberately, non-stop, until everybody was dead in this convoy.
CNN's Arlette Saenz is at the White House with more for us. And Arlette, Democratic Senator Chris Coons, who's very close to Joe Biden, he was just on speaking to Sarah, and he said this phone call he expects is going to be very important in the next step in the U.S.-Israel relationship.
Any day now. He's so angry. He's going to wag that fucking finger so hard. He's like, Israel, cut it out.
Yeah, Kate, and President Biden is expected to convey his personal anger and frustration directly to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu as they speak in the coming hours. The Israeli strike that killed these 7 aid workers with World Central Kitchen really marks the latest flashpoint in an increasingly tense relationship between Biden and Netanyahu. And many are questioning whether this moment could serve as a turning point in U.S. support for Israel as it conducts its campaign to root out Hamas in Gaza. Now, the president has expressed his outrage about the incident. Frustration has been rising here at the White House. The president is expected to focus on the death of those aid workers while also broadening out the conversation, trying to discuss ways to ensure that there are protections for humanitarian aid workers. Sources have told us that U.S. officials have already started talking to the Israelis about the need to change the way that information is transmitted when it comes to the locations of aid workers. We also anticipate the president to talk about the ongoing hostage and humanitarian aid negotiations to try to get a temporary ceasefire, as well as that operation that Israel is expected to wage in Rafah. Now, ahead of this call, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin spoke with his Israeli counterpart, Yoav Gallant, where a Pentagon spokesperson said that he conveyed his outrage while also saying that this incident reinforces U.S. concerns about needing to protect civilians in any type of operation that Israel conducts in Rafah. But even as we have seen this heightened rhetoric from the administration expressing anger and outrage, what we have not seen yet is any shift in policy when it comes to the U.S. approach to Israel, especially.
Dude, at this point, simply saying that you're angry is not enough, okay? That would have been, I mean, it wasn't enough on October 8th either, right? But we couldn't even get Brandon to say that on October 8th. And now it's gotten to a point where, like, you have to take action. You have to take action. You are expending what little social and political capital you have on your attack dog while consistently undermining your own foreign policy goals and initiatives, showing the rest of the world that you cannot control your own vassal state, your own fucking, like, aberration in the Middle East, okay? Your own base, your own forward operating base in the Middle East is going crazy. Here, let's look at this fucking demon, Chris Coons.
Words with Benjamin Netanyahu. The president has had words with Benjamin Netanyahu. At what point does the policy change? Do you support a change in policy instead of a carrot, instead of words, a stick, saying to Israel that in order to get military aid, you have to change your tact? When does that happen?
I think we're at that point. I think we're at the point where President Biden has said, and I have said, and others have said, if Benjamin Netanyahu, Prime Minister, were to order the IDF into Rafah at scale, they were to drop 1,000-pound bombs and send in a battalion to go after Hamas and make no provision for civilians or for humanitarian aid, that I would vote to condition aid to Israel. I've never said that before. I've never been here before. I've been a strong supporter of Israel the whole time I've served in Congress. We just appropriated another $3.3 billion of support in the last appropriations bill we did. The challenge is to make it clear that we support the Israeli people, that we want to and will continue to have a strong and close relationship with Israel, but that the tactics by which the current prime minister is making these decisions.
See? Look at this fucking asshat trying to re-triangulate to the liberal Zionist position. Oh, it's just like the tactics are bad. No, man, the entire project is fucked up, okay? Gazans, iOS sniping Gazans who collect airdrop. Wait, what? Hold on. I don't know if I can show that. It's, it might be TOS violation.
Don't reflect the best values of Israel or of the United States.
So things have gotten so bad. For the first time, you were saying, yes, we will put conditions on military aid.
I'm speaking for myself.
Speaking for yourself.
If they continue with large-scale military
I can't
operations
show that.
in Rafah without making any provision for civilians. Now, to continue fighting Hamas, taking targeted raids, small counterterrorism or special forces raids, I think that's an acceptable part of continuing their campaign against Hamas.
See, they're still giving an out, right? They're still giving an out to Israel. It's just that Israel doesn't care about the out that they're getting. They're still like, no, we're going to go full throttle. Shut the fuck up. It's just like, hey, dude. I mean, basically what they're doing is like, hey, guys, you can keep killing Palestinians. Like, but what the fuck are you doing? Like, don't kill the white people. You're kind of fucking up the bag for everybody.
Hamas. But the IDF can bring humanitarian relief in through the north of Gaza. They just demonstrated this 2-3 weeks ago by escorting in convoys of trucks through a new opening in the very northern security perimeter of Gaza.
Like they're doing PR. This is just nothing but PR for Israel. It's something that Israel has demonstrated that they're not interested in. Okay? It's demonstrating that it's something that like nobody's interested in. Israel certainly is not interested in this at all. And it's basically like denying abject reality while being critical of Israel.
It is the far north of Gaza where the IDF has the most control, where there is the most famine, and there is the most urgency. I think we can move forward if we see real seriousness about addressing the humanitarian crisis in Gaza, as well as the security crisis that Israel continues to face.
Do you think that these elected officials that had their progressive bases as their reason for being elected will pay for their pro-Israel stances the next time their position is up for election? I don't know how to answer that because like Democratic majority for Israel and AIPAC are pumping into like every pro-Palestinian congressperson. They're trying to punish them in primaries. They're trying to punish them and, cause them to fail electorally for the crime of standing against Israel's genocide of the Palestinian population in like the most, like in literally the lightest ways possible too. I also don't get why these motherfuckers never talk about the systematic process in which the IOF brings in aid. They are stored in warehouses and they bomb the warehouse with the aid. Like it's not something that Israel keeps a secret. One, because if they say that, then, it's going to make their allegiance with this genocidal state look weird. Because then the follow-up question to that is, why the fuck are you supporting Israel if they're deliberately bombing aid? You know what I mean? So that's why they have to like do a little bit of ass saving here, partially because like they want to keep defending Israel and partially because they want to also not look like weird hypocritical assholes.